Good morning, ma'am. Now, we will present our research proposal entitled The Impact of Using Technology in a New Normal Education of a Future Educator of Mindoro State University. Let me read this one. A research proposal present to Ms. Rofelia Antioquia, Mindoro State University, Alcate, Victoria Oriental, Mindoro. In partial fulfillment of the requirement in the contemporary world, SOCSI 114. By Aljhey Malimata, Monicca Aguila, Claire Defeo, and Lhea Martizana, a BSEd Science Student 2. Second semester, school year 2020 to 2021. Here is the brief introduction of our research proposal. Technology can be a powerful tool for transforming learning. In the current situation of educational system in the Philippines, technology is one of the most important components or ways for students to learn. Hence, we are in the middle of the battle against COVID-19. Major adjustments are being made by the Department of Education in the student to continue the education in the country. However, it is still a challenge for some students to study in the new normal system of education like online learning education. But with the help of technology, students are able to keep up with the learning. By means of technology, students can access 24/7 to the educational resources. Classes can take place entirely online via the use of laptop or mobile devices. There is a research that suggests interaction in online environment promotes student-centered learning, encourages wider student participation, and produces more in-depth and recent discussions than a traditional classroom. Research conducted by the U.S. Department of Education in 2009 showed that students who participated purely or mostly in online courses performed better in terms of grades than the students who took the same courses but in the traditional settings. It is also easy to imagine how flexible it is for students to learn at their own time, since one of the most stark characteristics of online learning is that it is done asynchronously. Students are free to pace themselves as they progress through the course. A number of new technologies are emerging to support and enhance learning in different aspects. Many of these technologies are not used to replace traditional teaching methods, but instead use as simple methodologies to enhance student learning, according to Riley, Bird, and Strain 47. But everyone should be open to the changes that are taking place. The role of the technology in the world of education has been ever changing. Most recently, technology has been a phenomenon to help motivate, differentiate, and allow students to achieve and excel in ways that they have never been able to before. According to Johnson 2003, the computer and technology, if used correctly, has the ability to invoke dream in the minds of visionary educators who saw endless potential for altering traditional notions of teaching and learning. Perhaps we can say that one of the most important inventions of man is technology and the further expansion of knowledge about it. Imagine the world now without technology. It seems very impossible to implement the new education system at present. However, it is still important to focus on how to avoid the negative effects or impacts of technology on us. Although there are many positive effects of technology in the implementation of online learning education, but some of the negative effect it has on students cannot be ruled out. Because of online learning, where students spend a lot of time using technology, many of them can be at risk if they do not use technology properly. On behalf of this, the researchers derived to this study aiming to find out the impacts of using technology in a new normal education of a future educator of Mindoro State University. The result of this study will help the student as well as the institutions since they will find out the real impacts of technology in a new normal education. Now, we will proceed to the theoretical framework of this study. This research proposal was anchored on three major theories: the theory of connectivism by Siemens, the engagement theory by Niederman et al., and the learner control theory by Dioval. The first theory that provides evidence on the present study is the theory of connectivism. Most learning theories are concerned with learning in printed text that does not normally provide interactive and multi-sensory learning environments. Now, there is a new learning theory called connectivism under discussion of Downs 2006 and Siemens of 2004 and receiving increasing attention in the academia. George Siemens presents connectivism as a learning theory for the digital age to explain the effect that technology has had on how we live, how we communicate, and how we learn. According to Perrin 2005, the theory of connectivism combines relevant elements of many learning theories, social structures, and technology to create a powerful theoretical construct for learning in the digital age. Siemens 2004 to 2006 argues that all the main learning theories were developed at a time when learning was not impacted through technology. Today, due to the information explosion, learning is not fully under the control of the learner. Technology performs many of the operations such as information storage and retrieval previously performed by learners. Accordingly, some knowledge will reside in machines while some will reside in humans. The challenge for educators, therefore, is how to design instruction for both machines and humans in how the two can interact with each other. Seaman believes that learning is more than knowledge acquisition and it must be aligned with the nature of flow of knowledge in the network digital age. The second theory is the engagement theory of Niederman, Aljhey, Norman, and Borkowski, 1995. In this theory, social interaction and collaboration are essential and that learners become involved in a community of practice. All students should also engage in activities that involve active cognitive processes such as creating, problem solving, reasoning, decision making, and evaluation. Although engagement could occur without the use of technology, but they believe that technology can facilitate all aspects of engagement in ways which are difficult to achieve otherwise. The use of email, chat, online discussion conferencing, and video conferencing can significantly increase the extent and ease of interaction and the kind of creativity and communication needed to nourish engagement among all participants. So, engagement theory is considered as a conceptual framework for technology-based learning and teaching. According to its advocates, the engagement theory is a new paradigm for learning and teaching in the information age which emphasizes the positive role that technology can play in human interaction and evolution. Hence, this theory is also associated with this study because it focuses to the importance of technology that can facilitate all aspects of engagement. Lastly, the learner control theory of Juvel, 2003, which suggests that learners should be given control over pacing, sequencing, and time period to complete. The actual content is presented on the assumption that learners know what is the best for the and are capable of acting appropriately on that knowledge. Juvel 2003 reminds us that the latest interactive multimedia system and virtual reality environment allow students freedom to learn in their own way, rather than in the way of a designer's prescribe. A primary teaching strategy is the use of hypertext that might be used to create learning environments for learning complex, illustrated knowledge and that allow students considerable control as they explore and browse through a content domain. If learners do not meet either assumption, then the computer of teacher is given control of content and learner task. This learner control theory is also associated in this study since it also focuses on the importance of technology in the learner or the learning of the students.
1.2 Statement of the problem. This research proposal will aim to investigate and determine the impacts of using technology in a new normal education of a future educator of MINSU, or Mindoro State University. Specifically, it will answer the following questions. Number 1, what are the positive impacts of using technology in a new normal education of selected second-year future educators of MINSU? Number 2, what are the negative impacts using technology in a new normal education of selected second-year future educators of MINSU? Number 3, how does technology affects the study of future educators in new normal education? Number 4, how does technology enhance the future educators' teaching skills? And number 5, what are the possible solutions to aid the negative impact of using technology in study of future educators? 1.4, Conceptual Framework. The researchers use the IPO model, which are in the input, process, and output to support this study. Inputs lead to process that in turn lead to outcomes. In order to find out the impacts of using technology in a new normal education of future educator students, the researchers decided to make a framework which will serve as a tool or guide for the study. So here are the framework. Input: new normal education of selected second-year future educators of MINSU. The process: survey, questionnaire, evaluation, and interview. The output: impacts of using technology in a new normal education of selected second-year future educators of MINSU. 1.5 Significance of the study. In this research proposal, the researchers will intend to inform the majority of the facts about the study of impacts of using technology in a new normal education of future educator of MINSU. Researchers believe that this study is important, meaningful, and useful in the following ways. In school administration, they will benefit from the outcome of this study through understanding the rendered further knowledge upon the impacts of using technology in new normal education of future educators of MINSU. And teachers, with the study as a reliable reference, they will have other strong bases to instill in their students' minds the importance of technology in a new normal education, which is online learning or distance learning. Furthermore, teachers can be able to help and guide their students to use technology in an appropriate way. They will be anticipated to become more responsible enough in giving advice and guidance to their child upon the importance of technology in today's educational system. In students, findings from this study will give insights to the students to be aware on how the importance of technology in your normal education, which is online learning or distance learning. It will help them to understand the significance of using technology in the right way. It will help them to enhance their knowledge that can be used in their future as educators. In future researchers, as immediate reference, the future researchers who are interested in studying further the consequences bring by students' predilection with the impacts of technology in their new normal education or online learning. 1.6 Scope and the limitation of the study. This study, entitled Impacts of Using Technology in New Normal Education of Future Educator of MINSU, is designed to determine the impacts of technology in today's educational system, which is online learning or distance learning. It will limit only to the 30 selected second-year college future educators of the aforementioned school. This study is aimed at starting June 2021 and ending in the same week of June 2021. Means that main campus will choose by the researchers because the researchers are from the school. Using purposive or judgmental sampling, the participants will be choosing who is appropriate to the study. The purposive sampling will choose by the researchers because it can be widely used to identify and select information that is related to the impacts of using technology in a new normal education of the selected second-year college future educators of MINSU. It is purely qualitative using case study, thus, the researchers relied on the data gathered from the participants, drawing only analysis, interpretation, and conclusions from their response. 1.7 Definition of terms. We have 5 terms here: online learning, technology, asynchronous, flexible, educational resources. Online learning refers to an internet-based learning environment that can connect students of diverse backgrounds who boast different perspectives. Technology refers to machinery, devices, and equipment developed from the application of scientific knowledge. Asynchronous, term used to describe forms of education, instruction, and learning that do not occur in the same place or at the same time. Flexible, term used to describe increasing flexibility in the requirements, time, and location of study, teaching, and assessment. Educational resources, those materials that are accessible and available on the Internet.
Chapter 3, Research Methodology. This chapter will cover the research methodology that the researcher will utilize in interpreting the data about the variables of the study. The first one is the research design. The researchers will utilize case study, research design, which are appropriate to realize the purpose and objective of this study. In Baracero's 2016, on her book Practical Research 1, defined case study as a research design which aim to describe occurrence of a specific person, thing, or any other creature on earth. It seeks to find answer to the questions why such thing occurs and experienced by the subject and explaining the reasons behind the nature of its existence. The descriptive narrative method will use to answer the research questions. Case study will use in the study to know the impacts of using technology in the new normal education of a future educator in Mindoro State University. 3.2 Research Instrument. These researchers will use semi-structured interview guide, both online and personal, that serves as the instrument of the study. This will also utilize audio recorder and cell phone while having the interview. During the transcription of the respondents' answers, pen and paper will use the researcher. The third one, sampling technique. For the researchers to obtain the respondents that will help to answer the research question, the researchers use purposive and judgmental sampling technique. According to Baracero's 2016, purposive or judgmental sampling is non-probability sampling technique that gave opportunity to the researchers to choose participants that will surely correspond to the objectives of the study, such as choosing those students who possesses the rich experience and interest in the study. The respondents will obtain from second-year course of Mindoro State College of Agriculture and Technology Educators Society that will represent the whole population of the students. Next is data gathering procedure. With the permission of the term paper advisor, the researcher will conduct the study right away. Upon the approval of request, the researcher will select the student, participants that will serve as the respondents. After identifying the participants, they will conduct the interview through phone calls, chats, and face-to-face manner. Prior to the conduct of the interview, the respondents will secure informed consent from them, and then the researcher will orient the respondents on the features and objectives of the interview. The data will obtained from the student participants withhold is strictly confidential.
Data analysis. Approved interview guide will be used in semi-structured online and face-to-face interviews. Respondents will be encouraged to talk freely and to tell experiences by the use of their own words. At the end of each interview, a second discussion will be conducted to argue study findings and to assure that the findings will be a reflection of their own experiences. Indeed, the researchers will also conduct a double checking of the transcripts. Each transcripts will obtain a recursive process of analyzing the whole content. Important statement will be noted down on a separate sheet, taking in their pages and line numbers. Definitions will be created from these important statements and will be sorted into categories, cluster of themes, and themes. Findings of the study will mainly focus into significant descriptions of the phenomenon under study. Then, the definition of the fundamental structures or the phenomenon followed. Eventually, Validation of the findings will center from the subject of the study to differentiate the researcher's descriptive results with the experiences. First, the researchers will consider the student's background and approaches them very well. After that, they will be giving the questions to be answered and give them enough time to decide for their answers, or on the other hand, fill all the questions. Second, the researchers will read and reread each transcripts recursively to obtain the impacts of using technology in a new normal education of a future educator of MINSCAT. In this stage, the thoughts, feelings, and ideas will be observed and analyzed. The researchers will identify the commonalities of the responses of the participants. Third, significant statements and phrases will be shifted from each transcripts. As the researchers became immersed in the idea, extractions and identifications of important statements started. In this process, researchers will start to eliminate some insignificant responses. Fourth, meanings will be created from the important statements of the students. Underlying meanings will be coded in one category as it reflects an exhaustive description. Next, after reaching an agreement toward all the formalized meanings, the process of categorizing will follow by reflecting a unique structure of cluster of themes. Each cluster of themes will be coded to include all formulated meanings related to the group of meanings. Then, group of clusters that will reflect a particular vision's issue will incorporate together to form a distinctive construct of theme. All of these internally convergent and externally divergent means that it will fall only into themes of clusters that will distinguish other structures. Sixth, all emerging themes will define into an exhausting description after emerging all the study themes. The study structure of the phenomenon will be extracted. Thereafter, the researchers will review the findings in terms of richness and competencies. Completeness to provide sufficient descriptions to confirm the exhaustive description. Finally, the researchers will confirm the validation to this exhaustive description. 7. A reduction of findings will be done in which redundant, misused, or overestimated descriptions will eliminate from the structure, since it will seem that each attempt will made to emphasize the fundamental structure. Some charges will apply to generate this relationship between cluster of themes and their extracted themes, which included elimination of some vague structures that will weaken the whole description. Lastly, the researchers will validate study findings using meaningful techniques. Researchers will turn the result of the study to the subject participants. Finally, all of the participants will show satisfaction towards the results of the study.